Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, we have new polls for 2028. It's never too early to start looking at the next election cycle. And J.D. Vance is defeating every single Democrat frontrunner in the national popular vote, which, mind you, it's not a guarantee anymore that if you win the popular vote as a Republican that you're going to win the Electoral College. It probably still will be true, but the tipping point state, Pennsylvania in 2024, only voted to the right of the country by like 0.3 percentage points. And if you look at 2020, it was like a 4-point differential. A lot of that shift came from deep blue states. You saw massive shifts among younger voters, Hispanic voters, in places like Texas, Florida, California, significantly to the right. That's kind of why. Of course, you'll have a lot of people saying most states trended left. They don't get it. It's like when you shift the popular vote that much, something's got to give. It's not going to come from rural Wisconsin as much as it's going to come from, I don't know, Los Angeles County, California, which moved 11 points to the right. But you look at the hypothetical matchups here. J.D. Vance defeating Pete Buttigieg by 1. I think he would defeat him by more than that, actually. Defeating AOC by 3. Again, I think he would probably have a shot to defeat her by more, even if he defeated her by 3. I assume she's less electable than somebody like a Gavin Newsom, who Vance is also defeating by 3. And that's like the electable choice. And this is Emerson. This is one of the most accurate pollsters in the country. It was in 2020. It was in 2024. So this is very early, as we know. It may not mean much at the end of the day, but if you look at the polls in 2020 and 2017, everybody was beating Trump's reelection bid by like 10 points. And that's not the case anymore. Republicans are establishing themselves as the frontrunners from the get-go, which is massive. And when you look at this party affiliation, Pew Research, 2021 Democrats at a 10-point lead. Of course, the independents did mostly lean right. Republicans win more of the, or they were winning more of like the Democrat share than vice versa. Now the ball game has shifted massively, and Republicans have a lead by 1. That is unprecedented. I think we had the first Republican favorable electorate where you had more self-identified Republicans than Democrats since like the 1920s this past election cycle. And Republicans are on the verge of taking the voter registration lead in places like North Carolina, which I don't believe they've ever led, and where Democrats led by like 800,000 voters the last time that they ended up winning the state in 2008. So a massive shift overall everywhere. And you know that it's really showing no signs of slowing down. So there's not this massive pushback. It is true that for the midterms, turnout matters. All that is true. But it's not like Trump's first term where Democrats were the ones like having a net gain in many places from like 2017 to 2018. So that's more good news for Republicans overall, is that they're gaining and more people are identifying as Republicans, less people are identifying as Democrats, which is something that's going to be useful. And J.D. Vance is somebody that can go out there and take down these Democrats. If you look and you see who the Republican field possibly could have in it, yeah, you might see some opposition to them, but I don't think it's going to be very effective. It's kind of going to be like, you know, Al Gore facing some no-name who gets like 25% of the primary vote tops. And I think Vance is going to get more than that. And you saw today a clip come out from Marco Rubio. And I want to play this clip because he kind of showcases how he is just willing to kind of, obviously it's too early, Vance hasn't announced, but it seems like Rubio's not going to run against him. I think he'd be the one that would hold the candle. Seems like he's kind of gearing up for, some sort of run. We're going to take a listen to this clip.
Run in 2016 for president. You are talked about quite frequently as a possible contender in 2028. Do you have your sights set outside of the State Department?
Well, I think J.D. Vance would be a great nominee, and if I think if he decides he wants to do that, and so I think he's doing a great job as vice president. He's a close friend, and I hope he intends to do it. I know it's kind of early, but being in the role that I'm in here at the Secretary of State, I really don't play in politics. There's actually rules against me being involved in domestic politics, and I want to do this job as long as the president allows me to do it. and stay in that job, which would keep me here all the way through, January of 2028.
So you already see that Rubio is coming out and saying that you don't want to rule things out, because it's true, Vance might not run for some reason or another, but it seems like he is just very focused on staying in his role. He said January 2028. I think he meant 2029. But regardless, one thing we understand is that Rubio probably doesn't run. And I think he'd make a great VP for Vance, because it seems like everybody in the Republican Party likes the new MAGA Marco. He's a great Secretary of State, as I anticipated he would be. I had some people that were like, why do you like this guy, defend this guy? He's like a rhino. I believe that he actually has changed, and I think by seeing his actions, even if he's an opportunist, he has changed. And he has always been like a blow the way the wind does kind of guy, for sure. But I think that we can use that to our advantage, and we have used that to our advantage because the wind is blowing in that direction. So him on the ticket would be good, because he does have appeal kind of in a similar way to Vance. I think he could expand that like populist appeal to, energize Hispanic turnout. He does have appeal in that community, as he's a part of it, and he is somebody who, he's from Florida, but also grew up in Nevada. It's not really as much of a swing state anymore, but still can kind of help out there too. And Rubio and Vance, I think, or Vance Rubio, I should say, on the ticket would be great for sure. Even if, it means holding a lot of the people in like the Trump administration in their places. It's kind of like that second term allows Trump to retire off into the sunset and go golfing, and I guess still kind of be a power player in politics, but he's not going to have to be as hands-on for sure. So that's really setting the Republican Party up for the future, and they really had no future before Donald Trump came along. They were just kind of like that party that would do well when nobody votes. Sound familiar? Well, you have the Democrats, and you've got plenty of candidates that possibly could run on their side. I don't think any of them are all that strong. We've covered that ad nauseum. I don't have to go over it all, but if you want to look at like the polling, if we can pull that up, I think there is a page on here that has the polling. There it is. There we go. For the Democrat primary, the fact is Kamala Harris still winning most of those polls really speaks volumes to how awful the party is. And Pete Buttigieg is gaining, but he is going to do awful with minority voters. If he gets that nomination, turnout among minority men in particular would plummet to the point where Democrats really just would not stand a chance against Vance. I think that looking at all the options that are viable, you could see somebody like a Josh Shapiro or an Andy Beshear rise up. I don't think Beshear's all that strong. Shapiro's intriguing, but again, he's never really been attacked in his career. They wouldn't even let him be VP last time. You think they're going to let him lead a ticket? That's a little bit tough. So it might at this point be somebody we've never heard of that takes the mantle, one of these clowns, or Gavin Newsom, who is extraordinarily overrated. He is running a masterclass campaign for the Democrat primary and not much else. And he has a record of failure. He is a sociopath. He is a scumbag. He has like a decent look to him. That's true. But I don't think that he's going to be able to take his campaign far, because his track record is so awful that it just is not going to be able to be explained away. And I think he's overrated in terms of his rhetorical abilities, and he's just so fake. He won't energize the far left. If he gets in like a brutal primary with AOC, you're going to see a lot of defectors to probably like the Green Party or something at the end of the day. And if you look at somebody like a Gavin Newsom, what he really was able to do is just kind of like pretend to be a moderate. He'll talk out of both sides of his mouth. That can help him. He has a track record of failure. But also, the guy lost a debate to Ron DeSantis in 2023. Ron DeSantis has like the charisma of a brick. Whether you like him as governor or not, that's irrelevant. The guy completely bombed on the national stage, as I expected, and yet a lot of people saying, oh, well, you're just saying that because you just want Trump and you can't let go of the past. Well, turns out I was right. Turns out Trump would win. So many of the naysayers were very wrong. They're still the people panicking, by the way. You have the panicins about the economy, and I think that's an important issue for sure, because if the economy is doing well and people like where the country is in 2028, they're going to vote for J.D. Vance. It's that simple. It really is. And Trump is making trade deals. Everyone was freaking out about the tariffs for Liberation Day. They were too much too fast, but I think that was the point. Yeah, the market went down, but it's back up to where it was before and then some. So, you had a lot of people acting like impulsive panicans. And it turns out that Trump is able to strike all these trade deals. We don't really have a spike in inflation. It's not like the rate's really going down, but you're not seeing this massive bump, and wages are rising faster, which is more important, if anything, than inflation coming down, because when wages rise faster than inflation rises, inflation technically, you could say, is not going to be impacting people as much. And that's a whole tie-in with immigration, deportation, self-deportations, etc. A lot of accomplishments in 6 months. I think demanding more is okay for sure. But I mean, you're seeing more trade deals, you're seeing ceasefires, you're seeing the big beautiful bill passing, the tax code extending, and all the extensions benefit the working and middle class almost invariably. So just all around, you have victories for Trump, victories for this administration. And if that continues, I don't understand who's going to go out there and win 2028. And then we get to the fun stuff, which is the electoral map. And how are Democrats going to be able to win in a 50-50 environment at this stage in the game? Their party's divided, which that could change. They're broke. You see a lot of the cutoffs from USAID, and then they start to lose a lot of revenue at the DNC. Very interesting. Although the Republicans were broken and divided, maybe not as divided, but they still came back and won 2024. The only difference is that the Republicans had Donald Trump and the Democrats do not. So if this is the electoral map where Republicans are starting off at 236, and even if we're going to give the Democrats 203, even though I think you probably could make the case Minnesota and maybe Nebraska's second would be a little bit less blue, they would still be lean states. And then I think North Carolina, given the way the state is moving and just how really competent the Republican Party is there, especially when it comes down to the national level, I think you could put them at 252. And maybe you say, yeah, the Democrats could win a state like New Jersey, but if Republicans are winning the popular vote by like 3, it's possible New Jersey's on the table. New York could get closer. Illinois could get closer. I don't think every state in the country is going to move right again, but you never know. A lot can change. But if things are going well, I really refuse to see why J.D. Vance wouldn't win the election. And then you just talk about what you need to do to get across the finish line. Pennsylvania's it. I mean, that's the ball game. I think Vance has got enough ties to the Rust Belt region, has the right appeal to the region. He's a Catholic. There's plenty of those in eastern Pennsylvania that are moving to the right significantly, and many of them voted for Trump, and then they voted for Biden, and they voted for Trump again. I think Vance would do very well, especially with Rubio on the ticket. You have an underratedly large Hispanic population in certain parts of the Lehigh Valley. Rubio would do very well among Puerto Ricans there, and I think the white working class turnout would be sizable. And Democrats, you are not really going to see them do well because they're losing appeal. They can't let go of their woke tendencies because it's become their religion. And yeah, I think Michigan could stay red. Wisconsin, it could be a little bit interesting, but I think the rurals will get redder. I think the WOW counties might get a little bit bluer because they're just changing. It's not like you have voters defecting more so than it is you have a lot of these communities just growing. And Milwaukee is getting a little bit redder, although they love to find random ballots in the middle of the night there, more so than I think anywhere else in the nation. But regardless, 271 is pretty easy to get to. Republicans don't even need to win Georgia. They might not win it because of the growth in the Atlanta area, but we'll see. I mean, if Pete Buttigieg is the nominee, I don't think black turnout's going to be big enough in the state of Georgia. And I think Newsom probably might give them the best chance to break even with their 2024 results at the rate things are going. So either way, the polls look good for Vance. I know it's very, very early. A lot can change. All that stuff is true. But one thing that is also true is that I would much rather be the Republicans heading into 2028, heading into the 2030s, than I would be the Democrats who are in the process of just continuing their self-implosion in any election where people actually show up. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.